it's Anne. Thanks for stopping by. Well, we're at it with the circles again today, friends, because I was remembering this old card making technique that I thought once again is something that would translate really well into junk journaling. And this is, you can call this layered circles. Some call it fish scales. It's all it is layered circles, small circles. I've done it with larger and with smaller, but there is a little bit of a technique to this, and I thought let's just make a pocket or two together. I've made a couple of other things, but let's just get started with the technique. And if you have a paper punch, you may want to pull it out to use right along with me. That'd be great. For this particular technique, I used my 1-inch punch. People have been asking me about my paper punches lately. My larger ones are Stampin' Up! That I purchased new years ago. I have a 1 3/4 and I have a 2-inch paper punch from Stampin' Up! And that seems to suit all of my larger paper punch, circle punch needs. This is a 1-inch that I got at the thrift store. I got lucky to get a good quality EK Success 1-inch at the thrift store. It's often dicey what you can find at the thrift store, but I snapped this one up. I also have a 3/4 inch that's a Stampin' Up! That I also happen to find at the thrift store. So I'm pretty well set with those 4 circle punches. But the 1-inch one is the one that we're going to be, well, I would say we're going to be using it today. We're going to be using the results of it today, which are these 1-inch circles. We're going to be doing a lot of distressing today, so lots of ink going on the old fingers today. Let's go ahead and get started. I saw this somewhere recently, and I used to use this technique a lot with patterned paper, and I do have some patterned paper and cardstock that we're going to use. I love this technique in neutrals and in warm earth tones, but I also have just some bright things that I've cut out of cardstock and thin patterned paper. I like to do this in the ones I've made before and the ones that I made for preparing for this project. I just used for a base, I used an index card, and this is 5 by 3. These are almost the perfect proportions for a pocket because with it being 5 inches across, it fits nicely onto a journal page that is, typically 5.5 inches wide. Some of mine are larger than that, but this will surely fit the majority of the journals that I make. And also with it being an even number of inches, 5 isn't an even number, but with it being not fractions of inches, my 1-inch circles will fit nicely across here. So let me show you how I do this. First thing I do is I do a little bit of measuring because I want to draw a light pencil mark down the middle of my base piece. You can use anything, use a folded piece of paper, use whatever you like. This particular index card is coffee dyed because I like to have a little bit of a non-stark white background because sometimes there's a little bit of peeking that goes on. Those little scamps. So I've got that mark down the middle, and that's gonna be all I need. I think I'm going, because I've shown you this one in the warm earth tones. Let's go with a little bit more of a bright circular sort of approach this time. It's nice to have both, especially on these summer days. I do really like inking on this. Generally, if something has a lot of small pieces, I won't bother to ink them all. And you may wish to also forego the inking, but I'm going to go ahead and ink them. Put a little bit of a protective paper for this first layer. I like having the scallop showing kind of along the hem of the dress there. So I'm going to have my first row of circles extend below the bottom of my base card. And I'm centering this one because I've drawn my my guide line there, and I'm going about halfway down. And this is going to set the tone for the rest. That one, I want a little more contrast. Here's some that I clipped out of a seed catalog. If you wonder how I'm gluing these, I'm just rubbing them on the top of my glue stick because these are small pieces. If I were to put them down and to do that glue that I normally would on a larger piece, I would have a lot of waste paper that would get on the bottom or get on either side of that piece that I was going to glue down. So I kind of don't want to have that. There's a lot of green on the bottom. Oh, what the heck, I'm going to throw a little bit of neutral in here. We can have neutrals in with our brights, can't we? So this way I'm only picking up the piece that's going to be glued down. And yeah, I have a little bit of waste for, you know, this bottom part, but it's gonna glue, or it's gonna dry. And you can see my inking, I kind of did only on the lower half of my circle because everything else is going to be covered up. And I'm trying to keep these nice and even. I have done a few where I've drawn a guideline so I can see how far up I want to go. I just don't think that's necessary. But again, if you choose to do that, you do so. There we go. And you can see, because this base card is 5 inches wide, those 5 little circles line up very nicely there. Get the sticky part. Now, this is the part where it can get maybe just a little bit tricky. At least it does for me. And I'll show you why. My tendency is to want to nestle this piece all the way up here. That isn't what I want to do. I want to bring it down so the bottom edge of the circle is about at the point where the 2 circles below it meet. And in this case, this side of the circle is going to be very, very close to that center line. You may get so good at this that you don't have to have any references with markings at all. And I salute you if that is the case. These are from the same piece, but there's enough contrast there that I'm okay. Again, bringing it down about to that point. Get a little additional contrast in there. Dan's out working in the garage. We're going to have some warm days coming up here in Portland. So we're kind of doing our outside stuff in the morning, and certainly celebrating all the great weather that we've had so far. I mean, it's July. You can hardly complain if it suddenly gets in the 90s. We've been very fortunate this summer, more so than the rest of the country. But we've got our warm weather coming. We're very fortunate that we have air conditioning. Now, I'm going to have some that are going to be sticking over the edge, but that's okay because I'm going to be trimming them off. Whoops, I forgot to ink this one. Now you can see where the whole inking or gluing the top and bottom of the circle is advantageous there. Oh, that's a cute one. And let's see if I can save a little glue by trying only to do this left side. There, those are lined up fairly nicely. Let's do our next course. Yeah, this one we're going to do 5 across because the one we just did 6 in our offset row. So I'm going to bring this down, establish that first row by bringing that lower edge about to the middle there. I wish I could bring you in closer. That's going to be pretty accurate, I think. Yeah, this this technique, it has just such a sort of a mermaid-y kind of feel. I know I talk a lot about our camping trips. Last summer, we went to, when we were out camping, and I guess this was the trip that we had Barney, our grandson, with us, so he would have been almost 7 then. We went to, there's something in Washington State called the International Mermaid Museum. It is fun. It is fun. It has just all kinds of mermaid folklore and, you know, interesting art. And it's just this weird, quirky, very small little museum. I'll look up the link in case you are interested in the International Mermaid Museum. We've actually been there a couple of times. But Barney enjoyed it. There was lots of beautiful glass art on the grounds. Anyway, this sort of reminds me of a mermaid motif. Also, isn't there some sort of fish dish with like circles, medallions of, I want to say potatoes. Did I get that right? It's making me think of Gordon Ramsay. We watch a lot of food programs on streaming platforms. There's a lot on Hulu. And it seems to me Gordon Ramsay, okay, I'm coming in with the next course here. Down to that center point where they kind of kiss. There we go. I think this will be our last course here. It seems to me Gordon Ramsay had some sort of dish where it was like a baked fish or something like that, and the contestants had to arrange these medallions of thinly sliced potatoes on this fish, and it had this whole oceanic sort of theme. It was cute. I don't think I would ever go to that much trouble. I'm a big one for baked salmon, baked fish. The fanciest we ever get is maybe breading it in panko. There we go. And let's do a couple more. Oh, here's one that's a piece out of a old yellow envelope that I brayered off some ink on. There we go, keeping those. Every once in a while, using these index cards, I get a little lucky and I can see some of the lines through the coffee dyeing that I did earlier. Another one, and we'll trim off the extra there. Sometimes I save them and then I go back and piece them back together. I'm not going to bother to do that this time. You can certainly see how that could happen. kind of use that one for our little end piece here. Glue half of that one. There we go. Now, if you have a wider page and you wanted to leave those on the sides, you could certainly do that. You can do whatever you want. This is your journal. These are your elements. But I'm going to cut off the sides here and just let my scissors rest there. If you did not want the scalloped bottom, you can do the same, but I'm going to leave that scalloped hem. There we go. Now, what I'll do is I'll erase a little bit of this line I'm going to be covering up. But what I like to do with these is I like to put some sort of a header on them, some sort of a, you know, some sort of a grounding strip or defining strip at the top. And it could be a book page. Or it could, you know, I'm kind of enjoying the decorative paper there. Here's a piece of other index card. I'm going to be racked with indecision, my friends. What about this? I could kind of pick up a little bit of that. Yeah, let's just kind of give that a try. I think I'm going to glue directly onto this piece and then trim it off the top. There is no right or wrong way. Now I could come right there, or I could cut off half of it. Oh, decisions. It's only paper, Anne. Don't sweat it. Cut this off to what I think might be close. With apologies to the little bird that's on the back of this piece of old scrapbook paper. I think this was on a bag of scrapbook paper scraps that some friend gave me. Yeah, I think I'm going to let a little bit of that undercarriage show. I'm kind of liking that. So this is going to sit up top, almost like the, you know, the edge of the lid on a box. Because in the end, it truly is not going to make any difference. But I like the look. It's so busy, you know, this particular technique does make for some busy visuals on the main part of the piece. And I kind of like having all one visual there at the top to sort of ground the whole thing. There we go. And again, I put too much glue there. I talked about not wasting glue before, but you know, there's always a little bit that gets wasted. Gets wasted. That's not a term I want to be using. There we go. A little bit of glue that gets used to no avail. How about that? Now, I think I would like to put I have a couple of really thin strips, and I think I kind of like that going in the middle. This little piece of book page. I just had this laying on my desk, and I thought, yeah, a strip of washi would be nice there as well. Just anything you have laying around. You could tie a little piece of twine around it. go. And there we have a nice little pocket. It's going to be super functional. You could put some gussets there if you wish. If your intent is to put something kind of bulky, you could put some gussets there. What about trimming the corners? Let's do a little bit of that. If that, if that glue doesn't prevent me from getting my corner rounder all the way in. No, it looks like I can gently do that. There we go. So there's that technique. I think it could go beautifully onto a journal page just like this. But particularly if I knew what I was going to be journaling about, if there was a particular theme for this journal or for this page or for whatever I was going to be writing about in the tag that I would be sticking in there, we might put, I got out some of my little just single word stamped things. You know, we could put wonder or something there. That might be kind of nice. I think I'm not going to glue anything down because, again, I don't know exactly how I'm going to be using this pocket, but you can see how just having one focal point with some text that's not busy like that, it can go right down over there too. That makes me happy. That makes me really happy to look at that. Let's look. Here's the one that I did earlier that I showed you. Oh, yeah, I'm enjoying the happy on there. But depending on how I'm going to end up using this, I will, yeah, I'll make that decision then. I wanted to show you this works in so many ways other than just pockets. What if you use this technique like I did on a piece of scrapbook paper, and you just did row after row here, and it's a belly band, or it could be a tuck spot on the side of the page, but I sized this just under 8.5, so it would make a really nice belly band. And certainly, you know, if you wanted to put a little word in the middle, that would really pop. But look at all of those beautiful fish scales, not slices of potato, not actual fish scales, just little pieces of paper from book page to scrapbook paper that maybe you just have a tiny little bit left and you don't want to throw it away. So you get out your 1-inch punch and you make something really useful. Now, when I first started experimenting with this, I was also experimenting with using my larger punch, my 1 3/4 punch for this technique. And I did not like the results quite so much. And I will show you, this is the first one that I made. It just looked for a pocket, it looked out of proportion for me. It looked like the circles looked almost like they were tennis balls, like squeezed into a frame or something like that. I felt slightly uncomfortable, but I thought, what if I turned it on its side and made a little booklet out of it? So that's what I did. I took the card, the pocket that I originally made, and I punched little holes there, and I just put jump rings here. And I just took some scrap paper, I made another piece, and I put some of my extra circles on the side, and I just made this little booklet. And this is something that could also hold that a little book plate there with just a single word. You know what? I think I'm going to commit. I'm going to put garden in there. That's what I'm going to do. Aren't I bold? This is just a little stamping I did on a book margin. And I think this is going to be something sweet, probably to tuck into my, gardening notebook, or this might be something that I give to a friend too. I might do that. That's what I might do. But it's that same motif. It didn't seem right for a pocket. The proportions were wrong, but turned on its side. It looks great. So I am going to leave you here and say that I hope you enjoy getting out your circle punch, punching away, and layer these things up. I just think they look really great. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.